Morning. Perfect. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right, well, let's get into it. Where's my co-chair? I can't see her.
You can't see me.
All right, let's get started.
Okay, perfect. So I will control the slides. Just let me know if you need me to switch anything, Jennifer.
Yeah. All right. So again, welcome to week one, introduction to the BC Provincial Court Family Law System. My name is Jennifer and my co-chair is Rachel. So next slide. So it's going to do a land acknowledgement here. So we at AC Friends of Court or AC Family Law School would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. Next slide. So about AC Friends of Court. AC Friends of Court is a nonprofit organization. It began in 2011 with its first legal forms workshop being held at the offices of the Access Justice Center located at 800 Hornby Street. Our legal forms workshops help British Columbians access affordable legal help for a variety of areas of law. At present, approximately 45% of AC clients are family law clients. So this family law school is the first of its kind. So just a little bit of a history. We did do a similar course last fall. That one did focus on the Supreme Court system. If anybody has access to YouTube, I believe we do have some of the courses uploaded, and I believe at some point in the next few months or within in the new year, we will be uploading the rest of our family law course from last fall for Supreme Court. So if anyone is curious about the Supreme Court system, you can check what is uploaded onto our YouTube channel right now. And then just keep an eye out for new uploads in the near future. So again, thank you to everyone who has signed up for our course tonight. My co-chair and I, as well as all of our presenters, have been working really hard to curate this program and to help you gain knowledge and skills to make you successful in your provincial court family law case. So sorry, everyone, I'm just going through my notes here. I think I got ahead of myself in my own notes, so I apologize, everybody. All right, so next slide, Rachel.
Okay, so there are definitely a lot of people that have helped us throughout this program, but we could not have started this program at all without the contributions of the individuals that you see on the screen. Dom Bautista, who is our executive director. We have Kylene Wong, who is a lawyer that we consulted with during this course, and key individuals through the National Self-Represented Litigants Project. We have Dania Cornwall and Andrew Pillar. And we would just like to acknowledge that some of our work is adapted from resources that were originally developed by the Justice Education Society, the National Self-Represented Litigants Project, and Legal Aid BC. And just a little bit about us. As Jennifer mentioned, it's the two of us. We're the co-chairs of this program. And Jennifer is a designated paralegal and certified legal coach. She has been working in the area of family law for 10 and a half years and has been a volunteer with AC Friends of Court since 2016. Myself, I am also a designated paralegal, and I have been working in the area of family law for about 8 years. I started volunteering with AC last year in 2023.
Next slide. So AC Family Law School does not give legal advice. These sessions are for legal information only. So I just want to go over quickly what legal advice is and what legal information is, because they do get confusing. So legal advice is answering a question or providing information that is specific and directly linked to someone's case. So for example, my ex says that because I moved out of the province, or moved out of the house, I'm no longer entitled to any rights to the house, nor will I receive financial payment from that house. Is that true? So if I were to answer that question, that would be giving legal advice because it's very specific to your specific case. The second example would be, I was a stay-at-home parent during my marriage and did not make an income. Am I entitled to spousal support? So again, that is legal advice. So legal information is answering a question or providing information as more general and not specific or directly linked to someone's case. So an example would be, I want to start a family law action in Supreme Court. What form do I use and where can I find it? So because it's just giving general information, it's just pointing you to where to find the form. You go to a website, you go click on this link, and this is normally the form that you would use to start your court action. Another example would be, what is the difference between guardianship and parental responsibilities? So those are just defining what those two definitions or those two terms are. So that's, again, that's general information. So just keep that in mind when you're asking questions. So if you try to ask questions directly linked to your own case, we cannot answer it. But if you have questions specific to what is being presented in each session, we can answer those questions. All right. Great.
Okay, perfect. So just a little bit of housekeeping. All of the sessions that we're doing for this program are going to be recorded. They will be emailed to registrants after the course has happened, so probably at the end of the week. If you miss a week, don't worry, you will receive a link to the recording. As Jennifer mentioned at the beginning, we do encourage everybody to attend the live sessions. You can ask more questions and get live answers. And it's just, in general, we love having you with us. So a reminder that if you haven't sent in your participation agreements to us, please make sure that you do so at the end of the session, and just make sure that those are in before the next session, which will be Tuesday, October 15th. This is the only session to happen on Wednesday. All other sessions will happen on Tuesday evenings going forward. If you didn't get your participation agreement, or if you are just missing that email, check your junk folders first. Otherwise, you can send us an email to info@litigantschoolbc.com. That will be on the screen later, so don't worry. And please make sure to mute yourselves during the lecture to avoid any background noise while a presenter is speaking. For anyone who wishes to turn their video off, so that's just extra, but yes, keep your videos off during all the presentations. If you have questions throughout the sessions, you can write it into the function. Otherwise, you can just wait and save the questions to write it into the question and answer box at the end of the session as well. We won't pause to answer questions that are related to the program, but we will do it at the end. There's about a half an hour that we save for question and answers. And as Jennifer mentioned, keep all questions as general as possible. We have a limited amount of time for each session, a number of students with us, so we can't really get into the specifics of each student's case. If you're going to communicate with any of our moderators in the chat, just make sure to keep everything respectful. This goes for any questions that you submit during your question and answer portion as well. And if there's any questions that aren't addressed, just send us an email and we'll try to get to it. Okay. The last thing is that it is our goal to include all applicants in the family law school. However, we do reserve the right to, at any point in time, for any of the applicants that are not following our scope of services, or if they're in the violation of the terms of the participation agreement, that we do have the right to remove you from our school. We do hope that doesn't happen with anybody here, but there is that possibility if you are disrespecting our speakers.
Okay, so week one objectives. So it's to clarify your expectations of what your self-represented litigant or SRL journey will be like. Go over the structure of the course, schedule and duration. Understand the difference between BC Provincial Court and BC Supreme Court. Understand that many cases settle and that your case may too. Identify dispute resolution mechanisms outside of the courtroom. Locate helpful, free, and low-cost information and service resources. Next slide. Session outline. So it'll be about the self-litigant experience, your journey as a self-represented litigant, types of court in BC, important family law statutes, solutions outside of court, helpful information and resources, and then question and answer, period. Okay.
So your journey as a self-represented litigant. Some of the past or other self-represented litigants that we have worked with have told us that some of the difficulties they face is navigating the court levels, filling out documents and court forms. It can be emotionally challenging, causing a lot of stress, and appearing in court and actually attending in front of a court hearing can be a little bit stressful as well. So some things to consider when representing yourself as a self-represented litigant is what are the parts of the process that might be most challenging to you? What resources are there for self-care and personal support? How can you make and plan to organize yourself, prepare, and then move forward? So we're going to try to help give you some tips and tricks during this course to help mitigate these the stressful time. Okay.
Oh,
Just turning that off. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so this is you, right?
me? Yeah, I did something to my own view. Okay.
Do you want me
I did something to my view and I can no longer see the slide.
to
I don't know what I did. I apologize, everyone. There we go. I fixed it. So setting expectations. It's important to manage your expectations. Very few cases are straightforward. Going to court can be unpredictable, overwhelming, and frustrating, even for lawyers, believe it or not. There will always be bumps in the road. It is important to develop coping skills. Next slide.
Sorry, just typing a response. Okay.
All right. So some tips and tricks to help you navigate your own journey. The biggest one is don't go through this journey alone. Find yourself a support network if you can, whether that's friends, family, even some of the nonprofit societies that do help self-represented litigants like AC Friends of Court. Find affordable self-care. It sounds very cheesy and some people are like, duh. But you know what? Even myself, I forget about self-care mechanisms all the time. So it could be, just going outside and taking a walk, taking a bath, meditating, journaling, just doing something that makes you smile. I know a lot of the rage right now is buying plants and taking care of those plants. Just anything that's going to help bring, again, this might sound cheesy, a little light into your life, that can just turn your brain off. And again, this is the same thing. Take time to do things outside of your court case. So spending time with friends and family, going for coffee, seeing a movie, just anything that can just kind of help get you away from your court case to give yourself that mental break. Engaging in any type of community mental health resources and counseling. Get to know and utilize the free affordable legal services within BC who can help you navigate your case, and we will give you as many resources as we have at our fingertips. Next slide.
Okay. So the overview of the court structure, BC Provincial Court, BC Supreme Court. So in Canada, we have the Supreme Court of Canada, which is like the federal court, and then each province has their own individual court system. So here in BC, we have the 3 levels. It goes from the Provincial Court of BC, and then we have the Supreme Court of BC, and then the Court of Appeal of BC as well. So in general, when you're wondering if you should go to provincial court or Supreme Court, there's a few key differences in the types of matters that can be heard within each of these different courts. So specifically, what can happen in both courts are things such as spousal support, child support, guardianship, parenting time and responsibilities, relocation, protection orders, conduct orders. However, the only thing that can be dealt with in Supreme Court is divorce, which is under the Divorce Act. And then property and debt division as well can only be done within the Supreme Court. So where did my slide go? Okay, so even though, oh, here we go. So the key to provincial court versus Supreme Court, the provincial court has fewer rules and can be a little bit easier to understand, less formal and more flexible. There's less paperwork, more people that are self-representing themselves. There's slide issue here. There we go. There's more locations of the provincial courts. There's no filing fees within the provincial court. You cannot award costs, but expenses can be dealt with. So that's through the court. And then only can make orders under the Family Law Act. So instead of the Supreme that has both the Divorce Act and the Family Law Act, the provincial court is only the Family Law Act. Then there's a streamlined process for protection orders and priority parenting matters. So Supreme can be a little bit more complex. The rules are a little bit more in depth. There's more formality to the court system, quite a bit more paperwork. The lawyers are tending to be more representing clients in Supreme Court. There's filing fees associated with Supreme Court forms. And then again, they can use the Divorce Act and the Family Law Act. Protection orders or priority parenting matters can go through what's called an urgent or ex parte short notice application, but it is a little bit slower than it would be through a provincial process. So protection orders. This is in a specific, like a little bit of a quicker method that we'll go through in provincial court process. It's with priority parenting matters. So time-sensitive or emergency medical treatment for a child. One of the parties applying for an item like a passport, a license, permit, or other benefit that is important to the child's safety or well-being, a child's upcoming travel or activity, or a child's removal from or return to a specific area in BC. Other things that can be dealt with in the provincial court are items or companion animals, such as pets. Again, no court filing fees. Just reiterating, the Family Law Act applies to both. And interpreters are provided to the parties within the provincial court, whereas you have to obtain your own in Supreme. The forms of address are a little bit different between both levels of court. In provincial, you mainly use your honor. And then each provincial court registry is different as to what is required to start a claim. And we'll go through that in the sessions coming up, but there's like an early resolution registry. And some of the registries are going to actually be starting November 2024. Some of the other registries are going to start becoming early resolution registries, with other ones following in April to November 2025. Okay.
Okay, so solutions outside of court. So did you know that 95% of family law cases settle outside of court, believe it or not? Court hearings and trials should always be a last resort. There are options for coming to an agreement outside of court. So some reasons why you would want to settle outside of court. It is a bureaucratic process. So if any of you are currently involved in a provincial court case, you probably understood how much of a bureaucratic process it is. Everything requires a form. Everything requires a waiting period. It can be frustrating. There can be bumps in the road. Delays can happen, whether it's if you're dealing with an opposing counsel, if you're dealing with your former spouse, if you're dealing with the registry. Sometimes the registry, it's hard to get through if you're trying to call and ask a question. Justice isn't always swift, but there is a way to try to settle it and just get it to a final stage. So, settlements can happen at any point in time throughout your litigation journey. You can settle when you first decide to separate. So that could look like, let's enter into a separation agreement. And you can also settle right before trial. So if anybody has a trial that's been scheduled, you can even settle it right when you enter the courtroom. That has happened. I've seen it happen many times. And judges love that too. Judges, they don't want you to be there. They want you to just focus on your life and what the future looks like. So if you want to settle day one of your trial, a judge is going to be more than happy to give you that space to do that. So to help you prepare for settlement, and for settling, you can do it at any point in time and as many times as you want. You just have to gauge what the other party is like, how they're going to respond to you. And you'd be surprised. There's sometimes someone who doesn't seem like they ever want to settle will turn around one day and be like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's just try to come to some kind of agreement. So to help you prepare for settlement, just keep a focus on what the end result is. Create an outline on what your priorities are for each case, such as, are you looking to get an order or agreement for parenting time or responsibilities? Are you looking to get an order for an agreement on, finances such as child support or spousal support? Are you looking to get an order or agreement dealing with companion animals? I will just say quickly, provincial court does not deal with assets. So if you do have significant assets, you would have to look at going to Supreme Court for that. Debt, we will clarify this throughout our sessions about if debt is another thing that provincial court can deal with. So what is always recommended is outline what your goals are. What are your goals? How do you envision the perfect kind of settlement? But always be realistic about it. Give yourself some wiggle room. Think about it as, this is my ideal goal. and I'll just do an example. I want $5,000 in spousal support. But give yourself some wiggle room. So that's your end goal, but maybe you will be like, you know what, I'm okay with settling on $2,500. So just, you have your start point and then what your bottom line is. So that kind of gives you some wiggle room when you're trying to do settlement. Getting yourself familiar with different forms of settlement. So there's many different forms of settlement, mainly four, negotiating through exchanging settlement proposals. So that would look like you sending a letter to your former spouse or the opposing counsel. Basically, you would keep doing that until it looks like the two of you would have an agreement, and then you can enter into something called a separation agreement. There's mediation. So for mediation, that would be you, your former spouse. If they have a lawyer, the lawyer would be there as well, and then a third party mediator. And then what would happen is, you would say what your issues are, what are you trying to settle on. The other side would also do that as well. And then from there, the mediator would try to see, okay, can we come to a middle ground here? How far apart are you two? How close are you guys? There's another way, the four-way meeting. So this one, it is if you both have lawyers. So I'll just quickly go over what a four-way meeting is. So a four-way meeting is, you would essentially either meet up in person or on Zoom. It would be you, your lawyer, if you have one, the opposing party, and the opposing counsel. So basically it would be a honest conversation where four of you would try to come to a resolution. There's also collaborative law. So again, that one is if you can and do have a lawyer. Basically it never goes to court. When you do what's called collaborative family law, basically you just spend the whole time trying to negotiate and come to an agreement. You never go to court. If it looks like you have to go to court, those lawyers that are helping you do not help you in court. You would have to either, do the journey on your own, or you would have to hire a new lawyer if that is a possibility. So when it comes to settlement, just try to remember it's not a sign of weakness. Be open-minded to the types of offers you receive from the other party or their opposing or their lawyer. Give yourself time to understand and digest and be comfortable with any offer you receive. So it's not you get a letter from the lawyer or your former spouse and they go and you feel like you have to respond immediately. Don't do that. Take your time. Sometimes they'll give you a deadline. And as long as it's fair and reasonable, so if you get something from a lawyer and they're like, oh, well, here's a settlement proposal, you have to respond within 24 hours. Well, that's not really reasonable. But give yourself time, talk to, someone you trust to say, hey, this is what I got. I don't really understand it. What do you think? Or go to a lawyer or find an access pro bono service that can at least try to help give some type of information to you, just so you can make a more informed decision. So next slide, is it still on me?
No, this one, I think, yeah, perfect. So, sorry. So just some helpful information and resources that you can kind of use for all of your cases going forward. Okay, here. So of course, someone like the AC Friends of Court, Amishi Curie Friends of Court, we're a service that assists with free services to all types of people, regardless of your income level. We hold legal forms workshops where volunteer lawyers and paralegals help parties to fill out court forms in a number of different areas, one of which being family law, others being Aboriginal law, human rights, workplace law, and other areas that can be found on our website. And we're always looking for other ways to provide access to legal services, such as this family law school. And if there's anything, our socials, our LinkedIn, those kind of give some updates as to some of the programs that come up through our services. The Legal Aid BC, they're also a nonprofit organization that's committed to helping British Columbians resolve their legal issues. They provide free public legal information, advice, and representation to people with low income. So the Law Society of BC, they have a roster such as the unbundled services, and this allows lawyers to offer what we call unbundled legal services to self-represented litigants. So this is where you could retain a lawyer only for a specific reason, such as helping you prepare forms, preparing you to go to a trial or a court hearing. And so that lawyer doesn't necessarily represent you fully where they attend court for you, but you can hire a lawyer to be in the background to actually just assist you when you have questions that come up. Another option that is available is the Innovative Sandbox. So this is a fairly new initiative that is through the Law Society of BC. And there is a list of approved participants, such as paralegals and other parties as well, that are now available to assist with a broader capacity. So through the Innovation Sandbox, there's a list of everybody that's been approved and what their services provide and the depth and the scope of their services. Just make sure this is muted. JB, are you able to just mute the?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect, great. So what we are actually based off of is the National Self-Represented Litigants Project, and they provide resources designed specifically for self-represented litigants. It's more of a broader It doesn't necessarily have like specific to each province, but they have some really good resources for self-represented parties as well. And then I skip. Oh, sorry, skipping things here. No. Okay, so actually the Government of Canada, we don't have a slide for some reason, it doesn't show it, but the Government of Canada does put together a publication. It gathers information for self-represented litigants. They do have a number of information on the Government of Canada as well as the Government of BC. There's information about divorce, obtaining marriage certificates. All that information is also on both the Government of Canada and the BC websites. The Access Justice Center and Family Justice Centers, as well as a resource called Click Law, which is an online service. It looks like the links are broken on our slide, unfortunately, but we can fix that when we send it out to everybody. They have the Justice Education Society and Access Pro Bono. So they are also a service. The Access Pro Bono does have an income testing, I believe, but they have services such as they provide like mediation and those kind of legal referral service where you can get a 15-minute free consultation with a lawyer, and then they can recommend other lawyers through that service as well. Rise Women's Legal Center. I believe somebody mentioned that in the chat as well, but yes, they are a great service. The LSLAP, the UVic Law Center, the TRU, there's other legal clinics provided through some of the universities, the law schools as well. Oh, here we go. The Government of Canada, like I said, the Child Support Guidelines table, which is available through like an online search. And then also your local courthouse and courthouse library. They have librarians there that are familiar.
Oh, I'm trying to find.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. Sorry, just had to mute that. Yeah, and your local courthouse librarian, they have a number of resources and knowledgeable staff there. They have all of the books that could be useful for legal research or anything like that. There's also a number of other links and like materials through our own services, the Supreme Court website, provincial court websites, Family Mediation Canada, which is an online service. There's JP Boyd has like a book available online that is also an option. And then legal coaching. So there's legal coaching roster or individual legal coaches that is provided by either paralegals or lawyers. It's similar to the Innovation Sandbox, but they can assist you on like through your process in the background. I don't know if they can represent you, I believe in some situations, right?
No. So, well, if it's a lawyer, it's up to the lawyer. So it's the Legal Coaches Association. We'll send a link for that. They are across Canada, and it's not just family law legal coaches, it's all areas of law. So if it's a paralegal, they can't represent you in court. They just help you behind the scenes. So they just act as a support, which is different from, as Rachel said, different from the Innovation Sandbox. The Innovation Sandbox, those approved participants, they can do a bit more than what a legal coach can, especially a paralegal legal coach. So on the website I think we actually have a lot of time. We can go through some of the links online if anybody wants, because I realize we're at just 6:10.
Perfect. And we can also start our questions a little bit early and go through some of that as well.
But yeah, so yeah, for the Innovation Sandbox, basically the Law Society has given certain people approval of what they can and can't do. So some can act as like a in-person court support. Some people can, depending on the type of law, they can actually represent you for certain things. To my knowledge, not any Supreme Court matters, but more what you would say like tribunal matters. So if there's anyone who has an issue with the CRT, which is the Civil Resolution Tribunal,
Yep.
um,
And the Human
they,
Rights Tribunal as well.
yeah, and so they can actually do I believe some representation. So sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder
No, no.
there.
And mediation as well. I believe there's some mediations that can be very,
Actually,
yeah.
that's a good one too. Designated paralegals can represent people in mediations. So if anyone is needing mediation services, and they don't want to do it alone, and they want affordable help, a designated paralegal for family law matters though, can help represent people at mediations or even be a telephone support.
Yes. Okay, so we have
Uh,
so
let's
the
go from
slides, the
let's go
link.
from the top.
Okay.
So we'll go through the very first question asking if we will send the slides. Yes. So you'll get a weekly email and it will recap what has happened the previous week. And you'll get a copy of the slide. And if there's resources mentioned and that they're not available to you at that time, those resources will also be attached to those emails. So we try to send those weekly recordings and emails towards the end of each week.
And that will include, so like we went through a number of links today. So the slides, sometimes the slides are actually linked, but the resources, if like Jennifer said, if the resources include links, will include like a list of the links that we have gone through as well.
Okay, so
Is there a course for BCSE? So I'm just looking at some of the questions. Yes, we did a course for the Supreme Court. I think we talked about it at the beginning. It is starting to be available on our YouTube channel. They are editing and processing and posting them as we speak. So as they get finished, they get posted to our YouTube channel. I wish we could provide certificates. That would be fun, but no, unfortunately, this is not official, so there's no certificate for the program.
um,
Okay.
so what about challenging applications or MCFD matters? So I think I'm not sure what you're asking if you have received, like if you're trying to appeal something, and again, a lot of this some of this information you'll get in more detail throughout the week, but I'm just gonna take it as you're trying to challenge something in provincial court. If you're trying to appeal something that's happened in provincial court, you appeal it in Supreme Court. So that's kind of how our system works. So provincial court, unfortunately, is the bottom barrel of our court system. If you need to appeal something in provincial court, you appeal it in the Supreme Court. If you have a Supreme Court case and you want to appeal a decision from Supreme Court, you go to the Court of Appeal. And if you don't like what the Court of Appeal said to you, then you appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. And with the Supreme Court of Canada, it actually, I believe the percentage for actually getting in front of a panel of judges in Supreme Court of Canada is very, very low. We're talking something like, I think, and I'm kind of like guesstimating, like anywhere between, out of the hundreds and hundreds of applications they receive, I believe it's anywhere between, or sorry, your max probably optimistically 10% of those cases will actually make it to the Supreme Court of Canada in front of the panel of judges.
They also ask for like MCFD applications. So I think it's just more so if you have a difficult application or MCFD action. And like again, both courts provide services for different types of applications, but it's only property and the divorce that is only supreme.
Uh, Adoption.
That
Which
is, I believe it's both. You can do adoption in Supreme as well. So I'm not sure if there's a specific one versus, but both can handle that. Mm,
I can double check.
yeah,
I can, so when we send the weekly email, I can double check that
because
answer for you. Because
I
I
know I've
personally,
done adoptions in Supreme, so
I've
um,
done, yeah, I've done adoptions in Supreme. I haven't touched on it in provincial court, so, but we can definitely look into that for you and give you some general information on that, which court is the best court for that.
yes.
And again, that's general information.
Yeah. And then, so can you use both courts for different matters? So, I mean, it's not ideal to have different, and correct me if you have a different opinion, Jennifer, but if you have like a matter where you know that you have to deal with either divorce or a property and debt division, it is usually a good idea to just go through with a supreme matter because otherwise you can't have two courts dealing with the two matters. And if you need to have them joined together, it can be a little bit difficult. So it would be best if you know that you have to deal either, like I said, with the divorce or the property and debt division, you should just start with Supreme. If you don't have those kind of matters, you can just go through Provincial if it has anything to do with like spousal, child support, any like parenting time, parenting arrangements, those kind of things. You can just go right through Provincial.
Yeah. So, and basically to copy what Rachel's saying, yeah. So technically, yes, you could. You could do both, but you shouldn't. And again, it's because, so the two courthouses, they do not talk to each other at all. If you could technically split your case. So if you're like, oh, I only want to deal with my anything to do with my child, I'll do it in provincial court, but then I have property, assets, and a divorce, I will deal with that in Supreme Court. So technically you can do it that way, but it can make things confusing. So rule of thumb, best to, if you can stick to one court, stick to it. If you are married and there's children involved, it might be better to stick to Supreme Court for all of it. If you only have children and you're only dealing with child support, spousal support, or even like companion animals, and you don't have any property, you don't have a legal marriage, then you should do provincial court. And I have seen it where people have decided, I'm going to do both courts for almost the same reasons, and that gets horrifically confusing. And it actually could be detrimental because again, the two courthouses don't talk to each other. So what happens is Supreme Court will make an order for children. The same children in your provincial court case, that court can make an order that clashes with the other one. And then you got two orders, they're both confusing. If one party is, abiding by provincial court order, but not Supreme Court order, but the other party is abiding by Supreme Court order, not provincial court order, you're both right and wrong at the same time. So better to just stick to one type of court if you can.
Okay.
So average for spousal support. Someone did mention it here. So yes, it does depend. It depends on a bunch of factors. And again, we'll touch on this more in the coming weeks. But super high level. Yeah, it factors on how long your relationship was, what were the parties' roles in the relationship. So if you're both working, if one was a stay-at-home party and the other one was working, and yes, the duration of your relationship and ages as well. So if it's a very short relationship, Spousal support might be very short. If it's very long marriage, spousal support might be until, like, if you are, you know, in your, let's say you separate and you're in your 60s, and, you know, one party is like, well, I never worked during the marriage or in the relationship, and I've always relied on the other party for finances. Then again, this is just legal information. Technically, possibly, for that person, it could be for the rest of their life. But again, this is all just hypothetical scenarios, and is most likely not going to ring true to you. So yeah, but again, that'll be touched on in more detail. So just take what I say with a grain of salt.
Yeah, we have one of the sessions that deal with spousal support as well, so you'll get more information there. Okay, the next one. Yeah, there's a couple other good services they've put in the chat as well.
BC Indigenous Justice. So they don't really deal with family law matters. So for the BC Indigenous, it's not the Justice Council, but it's the sorry, I'm having a little BCF and JC. But basically they deal with certain types of cases. And to my understanding, they don't deal with family law. They might refer you out to another nonprofit if they can't help you. But they are very, very good, a very good resource.
Okay, the next one here. Sorry, just going back and forth up and top.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like slowly scroll down.
Okay, yeah, so like legal coach contact will give you all of that. For what comes after mediation, I'm not sure if you saw another question, Jennifer, but that's where I'm at. So like Jennifer mentioned kind of in her slides, is that settlement can happen at any point during your matter. So if you deal with mediation, you can mediate really at any point of in your matter before you have your trial. We've had cases where we literally do mediation the like week before trial happened, and we were able to settle a case. So mediation, if it's successful, then you know, that's great. You can work with like obtaining an order to make it official in the courts, or if there's no divorce or anything necessary, you know, you have your mediation. There's like a agreement that's usually prepared at the end of mediation. Otherwise, if it's not successful, then you just continue with your court case, either in Supreme or Provincial, whichever you have at the time.
Oh, and I don't know if we touched on this, Rachel. So Access Pro Bono has something called virtual family mediation. So that one is, so it's through Access Pro Bono. I believe it gives you up to 3 hours of free mediation services. So you'd be connected to a mediator through their roster. And from there, I believe they do have a limit on what they can do. So we can definitely send a link for that information just so you have it. So if you need to use it at any point in time, it doesn't hurt to engage and ask for that service, because if you can get some free mediation help. And again, if you have a lawyer, you can have a lawyer with you. You can have a paralegal with a designated paralegal with you. But that is a good affordable service as well.
We do also have a session that's going to be on settling your case and alternative dispute resolutions. And that will delve a little bit more into some of the options like Mediate BC or the online virtual resources as well. Yes, family justice centers are super helpful. We will include a link for them. They are able to help with mediation, preparing orders, preparing agreements. So yes, they can be a super helpful resource.
And like, I personally love the courthouse library. They're so helpful. Unfortunately, they are not, I haven't actually been to some of the provincial courts outside of like Vancouver, New West, and Richmond. But I don't believe the provincial courts actually have a library there. I think it's only in the Supreme Courts that they have libraries.
Believe so.
So for anyone, if you are near a Supreme Court, which would be Vancouver, New West, Chilliwack, Abbotsford, that's what I can from in the Lower Mainland. It's open to the public, so you can go in there. You can, if you need help accessing, like for instance, like case law, if you need help trying to locate a specific document that you need to fill out, the courthouse library, they are amazing resources, and the librarians are so helpful. They can, if you need to find something very specific, they'll do their best to work with you to locate the type of answer you're looking for.
We're not repeating a live version of our Supreme Court course. We've done the course. It's just going to be up on our YouTube. Yes, a case. Oh,
you can go. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, a case can be moved. Moved to provincial.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced that myself, but if you have experience with that, Jennifer.
Yeah, so as long as so again, with the two parameters around what provincial court can and can't do, you technically can move from one type of court to the other. It's just not as simple. So if everything if everything has been resolved in your Supreme Court case and you only want to deal with the children, you can ask to change the venue. It is a bit of a process, so it's not just simply asking the registry to move it. You need to have an agreement with the other party, and then you need to apply to court for that. But so technically, yes, you can move your court case from Supreme to provincial. You just have to really spell out why it's necessary. And then it's up to the judge for the judge to say, yeah, I don't see an issue, go ahead, or the judge will just say, no, that's not happening. And it's the same with provincial court. You can move your provincial court case to Supreme Court as well. Again, it just has to make sense. It has to, the other party needs to be in agreement with it, or if not, same thing, you have to apply to court to get permission from a judge to move your court case from provincial to Supreme. And similar, if you have a provincial court case and you want to combine it with a Supreme Court case, you could essentially, what I call, I don't know if this is a ironic joke, you can marry the two files together in Supreme Court.
I'm just sharing our YouTube channel for everybody. That just shows our name on YouTube as well. And you can just go on YouTube and check it out. We have a bunch of different, the AC Family Law School. So I think we have 3 weeks right now. It's, like I said, a work in progress, but we have lots of other videos. We have interviews with other people as well. So definitely something to check out.
How much is low income for one person family?
I think the tests, like the information is all online. It's on each of the websites, right? Like the if you're looking for the income testing, it should give that on their websites.
Yeah, so like let's say you're looking for legal aid funding. I believe they would tell you on the legal aid website, it would tell you what the parameters are. If you're just wondering for like just general purposes, what low income is. I think on the our provincial websites it would say, but I would say, and this is probably just me saying my own opinion, 40,000 or less. That's just me guesstimating my own personal for how much what would be considered low income, but you can definitely find that information online. And it should give you like a generalized, like, this is what the provincial government says is low income, middle income, high income.
I saw a question about the approved participants for the Innovation Sandbox. So everybody, there's different services that are offered. So we do have family law as well on here, but you basically can just go to the Innovation Sandbox. I literally just typed in Innovation Sandbox. Again, we'll include the link in our resources. But you can just scroll down and see what kind of people are available. And it says the legal services in civil litigation matters or personal injury. So you can always control F and type in family law or something like that. So, there's just a matter of looking through the things that you wanted to try to find on the participants. Okay. Um,
So changing your child's last name. I think you could,
I know there is in Supreme, you can do
yeah,
that within the family law situation. So there is definitely the Supreme Court side of things for changing a child's name. Um,
vital statistics for sure. But if you're looking to get a court order, because if the other party is not, that would be, yeah, same thing. I know for sure Supreme Court, you can get a court order for that. Provincial courts, I mean, don't see why not, but that's something that I can just double check as well. What just to help solidify what provincial court can and can't do.
And the Government of BC website, it has so many resources. There's an actual section on legal change of names, and it goes through very detailed actually processes and where you can do legal name change applications. So for yourself and or your child. And just a quick note, we do appreciate everybody's help in answering some of the questions. But if we could just try to keep the chat to questions, and then our team, either the presenter or myself or one of our moderators, will try to answer the questions, just so we can avoid any duplication or some questions that come up. We just want to make sure that the questions are answered through the team.
Settling a case once trial has commenced. If both parties are open to it and they let the judge know, again, the judge is always going to be happy about having a case settled. So again, for settlement, you can settle at any time in your case. From the very beginning up until the end, you can still settle. Now, if you have gone through your whole trial and you're now doing your closing submissions, or even after the fact, like you've done the whole trial, the judge is like, I'm reserving judgment, and then you want to settle, that would be a little bit different. It might have to be a discussion with that trial judge. Oh, I think I slid down a little too far in our
No, I think you were.
library. But I do appreciate how how everyone is communicating and engaging today. This is very helpful for some nice open dialogue and for us to get to know you all more.
Yes.
So I do apologize if I'm like, oh, I'm lost now.
And some of the questions, if we do skip over, we're not trying to be rude. Some of them do have some personal information. Because the session is being recorded, we just don't want to necessarily read out some of the personal information. So if you have some questions that we don't address that are legal information only, feel free to just send an email to us, and we can try to address it there. Companion animals can be dealt with by both courts, yes. There was a bunch of rules that changed with how pets are viewed, so that's a difference that has happened. They're no longer just an asset. So it's now in both courts.
Yeah, and they have they do specify, you know, what is deemed a companion animal. I can try to find that for you.
It's usually a pet, how they tend to categorize it. I'm not sure if there's like restrictions on like a lizard or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah. For legal aid lawyers, you can, it would have to be a discussion between you and your legal aid lawyer. So if you have a legal aid lawyer and you run out of funding, again, that's a personal conversation between you and that lawyer about how representation would look like with them in ongoing. What happens, it's very individualized, so I can't really give too much of an answer to that one. I think it's just a discussion you would have with your legal aid lawyer, and see what, if something, an arrangement can be made. But technically, yes, you could, if you no longer have funding, you could still use your legal aid lawyer. It would just depend on what that relationship is and what's discussed between the two of you.
I feel like I'm not seeing the questions you're getting, Jen.
I know, but like, I don't know, something happened with the chat and all of a sudden, like it like scrolled up or scrolled down.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to find, will we go into details regarding protection orders? Yes. The next couple weeks, there's going to delve into the actual how to get specific orders. Family justice counselors do provide mediation.
Through provincial court, yeah, yeah. And this will be, again, this will be in discussed in more detail throughout the weeks, but with provincial court, they typically, and again, this is like very high level view or explanation, but typically when you start, depending on the courthouse you're using, when you start your court case in provincial court, some of the registries will ask that you meet with a justice counselor. From there, the justice counselor will try to see what the issues are and how far apart the parties are and see if they can do mediation. I believe you can use that justice counselor as many times as needed. Again, this will be discussed in more detail throughout the coming weeks. And they have parameters about what they can and can't do. So if it's too complicated, they will probably have to refer you to a judge. So you would then start your provincial court process. If it's simple, they'll try their best to just mediate between the two of you. So it could be figuring out child support. It could be, what does a parenting schedule look like? So it's very strict at what they can and can't do. Let's see, I'm just trying to see if I've missed any questions.
There was one about the file actually moving if you move your court case. So start from scratch. If you move from provincial to supreme, it shouldn't be from scratch, but like the courts don't actually communicate. So, but the file being transferred, it should move the information that is in your court case because it's now becoming a Supreme Court case, for example. So the filings and stuff I believe they get transferred. Income. Stop. Let's see.
So unfortunately, there's a lot of questions in here that we can't answer because again, it's very specific to your case. So again, that's when it would be legal advice. You know, we try our best to answer questions and try to generalize the answers to certain questions. So some things you can generalize and some things you cannot. So when it comes to very, very specific questions to your case, unfortunately, we cannot answer them. And this will be the same with the presenters as well. They won't be able to answer questions specific to your case. So if your question is not answered, it could be either we didn't see the question, which we do apologize for. So if it's a generalized question, you can always email after the fact. So you can send questions to info@litigantschoolbc.com. But again, if you're asking questions about your own case, unfortunately, we won't be able to answer. If you need help with your case, we are just a educational program. We do not help anybody with their individual case. If you need help, you can, and I think I have referred some people to AC Friends of Court. They do their best to help with any legal forms you have, explain court process, and try to share resources with you. And we can send the email for anyone who wants help. It's helpme@legalformsbc.com. So if you need help specific to your case, you have to email them. Unfortunately, we at AC Family Law School cannot help you with your case. Okay, so.
And this is just the Amishi Curie website. So we help understand legal procedures and complete paperwork. So if you're looking for an appointment, you can request a virtual appointment, and you can contact with either an online form by this isn't updated, but by email. And then we also have a phone line where you can leave a voicemail and somebody get back to you. Yeah, we'll need them to update the email, unfortunately, but yes. So that's another way if you want to get, you can use the Amishi Curie Friends of Court.
But we'll provide that email address when we send the weekly email as well.
There's a question about prioritizing 50-50 custody. That's a little bit more complicated. It's not really something that as just a general legal information course is going to offer. If you have specific questions about like your matter, you can use some of the other services like an unbundled lawyer or anything like that. But we don't really have the capacity to answer something like that. But if there's general questions about the actual provincial court methods, that's more what we'll be able to assist with during this course. Let's just see if there's any other questions we missed. If anybody has any of their other questions, you can feel free to enter them into the chat. Okay.
All right. So we got through this really quick. I'm very impressed. So for next week, week 2, it'll be provincial court registries and provincial court family rules. So what that's going to go over is the different type of provincial court registries. So there's a few different types, and the presenter is going to go through those in a lot more detail. So it'll be types of registries, early resolution registries, how does provincial court work? How do you get in front of a judge? The flow of the court process. So it'll be going over like what a typical court case is going to look like. And then it's going to give a little bit of an introduction to trial processes. For learning more about trials, we're going to be going into more detail later on in this course. So that'll be week 2. So week 2 is going to be on October 15th, 2024, between 5:30 and 7:30. So Tonight was the only night where it was on a Wednesday, but from starting next week onward until December 3rd, it's going to be every Tuesday.
One last thing I'll share as well. So our website, our Litigant School BC, we have our website here. So if you are looking for the information about the course outline, all of the weekly information about what's going to happen next for the following week, the date as well, you'll find the schedule here. You can also download the entire full, the course schedule, and this will give a little bit more detailed breakdown about what to expect with each week. So week 2, provincial court registries, provincial court family rules, how to apply for orders. I did see a question about a family management conference. So we'll have getting ready for hearings, conferences, and trials. So they will go through family management conferences as well as family settlement conferences and actual attending at trial. So yeah, if you're just wondering when we might be talking about something or if we are, you can download that this course outline from the website itself.
And for the link, so next week's link is going to be different from this week's link. So we'll be sending out a new Zoom link for next week.
Yeah. Let's see.
So I think that's it. Should we stop the recording?
Yes. Okay, perfect. So
All right. Okay.
that 1 second. Stop recording.